How's it everyone? This is Lolcohol, and in today's video I'm going to be going over all the changes coming up in patch 0.1.1 for Path of Exile 2. There was a fairly short video, 7-minute video, followed by a 2-hour-ish long interview with Gazzy and Darth with Mark and Jonathan. So if you didn't have time to watch all that, today's video will catch you up. Big things that a lot of people have been asking about: map tab, the Waystone tab that is coming. They are working on it. It'll be here as soon as possible. Another big thing, runes in sockets will be able to be replaced. Thank goodness. Another thing people were asking about, PoE 1 3.26. They said they're not ready to say anything about that yet. But we got a lot of other news about the endgame, towers, bosses, progression, Atlas tree, league mechanics, items, crafting. So let's go through it. Firstly, to start off with the endgame, base pack size in maps is going to be improved. There'll be more chests, more rare mobs. Overall, base maps should just be more rewarding. This is going to have a fairly extensive impact on explicit mods on Waystones. So if base maps have 30% increased monsters, which is kind of what they alluded to, then if you start rolling things like increased pack size, increased number of rare and magic monsters, you're going to be seeing a lot more. So hopefully you'll be able to scale the amount of monsters that you get in your maps without having to rely on things like Breach. As for bad layouts, this isn't getting changed right now. Mark agrees that augury levers and burning ground, that kind of nonsense that just sucks, that will be addressed, but right now they're not going to just get rid of all the bad map layouts. Hopefully they at least add some more good ones. As for the clear all rare monsters being the only map objective currently, this will be expanded upon, and they're going to add a variety of different things to do. Then towers, they are really boring. So what they're going to be adding are 4 more towers for variety. The Lost Tower is getting reworked so that it'll be easier to see. Currently the layout is very narrow, tight corridors. You can't see what monsters are in rooms before you go into them. So that is getting reworked, but we're getting 4 other towers that should have better layouts. So hopefully this won't be so tedious. Then map bosses. We're getting more bosses on maps, and we're getting boss precursor tablets. We're also getting better zoom out on the map atlas, so you won't need to use any bugs or anything to zoom out. Also, you'll be able to see biomes on maps. And then next, predictive mode is in the works. Currently, we only have lockstep, so be patient, that is coming. But if you are looking to improve your ping in maps, well, let's check out today's sponsor. They might be able to help you out. Today's video is brought to us by ExitLag. ExitLag isn't just another gaming optimization tool. It addresses server issues and provides dedicated routes, ensuring a seamless and lag-free gaming experience. I've been using ExitLag, and it's been super helpful when playing games that don't have local South African servers, which just so happens to be most games. The ultimate AI route optimizer for your gaming connection, along with a dynamic stabilizer, helps to ensure you get a faster and safer performance on your gaming connection. With over 1,000 servers located across 5 continents, you can get the best possible ping and performance regardless of your location. Signing up is also super simple. Click the link in my description, click sign up through the website, download the software, then all you need to do is choose your game, select your server region, and start gaming. And even better, if you're ready to sign up, ExitLag has a special holiday promotion that's going to end soon. If you sign up for 12 months, you're going to get 6 months free. That's a 50% discount. Offer is valid for the first subscription only, applicable to annual and quarterly plans. Not valid for any automatic renewals or plan upgrades. So if you're interested to try out ExitLag to improve your connection performance, click my referral code in the description below. And again, big thank you to ExitLag for sponsoring today's video. Let's get on to the rest of it. So the next thing that they spoke about, 1 portal and XP loss in the end game. They said they need to think a lot more about this. Currently, they do really like the 1 portal system because they feel like death matters and failure needs to matter, and also it's a way of forcing you to not progress too quickly. However, when combined with the XP penalty and the one portal, they feel like this is maybe too punishing. There's too many axes of penalty, so they will look at this. Also, we're getting a search feature in the Atlas at some point, and they're considering adding checkpoints in maps to account for the really nasty layouts. Even Mark agreed that it's very frustrating when you're running a long linear map and you forgot one rare monster right at the beginning. That just sucks. So he agrees that sucks. They'll look at figuring that out. Then in terms of end game progression, they feel that the pacing isn't really quite good. It's a bit too much of a step rather than like a smooth curve from the campaign into the end game. So they do actually like the fast pace of the end game, but they feel that the progression just needs to be smoothed out. Early maps might be a little bit too hard. They want to reduce the difficulty of them. Also, in terms of the Atlas quests, the whole do 10 tier 2 maps, do 10 tier 3 maps. They feel that's really boring, all those objectives. So they're looking at revamping that, rather having more specific objectives. Maybe it'll be something like kill this boss or do 10 essences, and then further improving tutorialization of the end game. A lot of people, they felt like they really were comfortable in the campaign. The game was explained well. Then they hit the end game and then they just were completely lost. This happened to a friend of mine. Hopefully the end game progression, they are looking at smoothing it out, feeling like it ramps up a little bit too quickly. As for the Atlas tree, just the base Atlas tree they feel needs to be improved. Acquiring points needs to be improved. The nodes on the tree are a little bit boring. This is just like the base Atlas, the things that like give you more rare monsters or increased pack size or quantity or precursor stuff. They feel it's a little bit boring. As for the league trees, being locked behind Pinnacle Bosses, they say they currently like this, but might add some kind of meta system to improve it. So I don't really love the way it is right now, especially with Ritual. Ritual is really bad. You need to do Audience with the King to get points for that, but if you're playing Trade League, Audience with the King almost always makes sense to just get it and sell it, especially if you're new and don't have a lot of currency. Then, in terms of league mechanics, so Breach, Expedition, those types of things. Breach, they feel the density is too high. They're getting millions of error messages because the density is so high. There's actually errors coming through where monsters don't actually spawn because there's so much spawning that there are not enough spawn points. Then strongboxes, these are getting probably the biggest improvement in patch 0.1.1. It's going to spawn monsters much faster. The smoke cloud is going to be less distracting and hard to see through. So hopefully strongboxes suck less. Essences, they want to improve these, but only in terms of combat. Currently, PoE 1 essences could be extremely tanky. PoE 2, it's the opposite, where they fall over almost instantly. So they want to improve this, but yeah, just in terms of the combat. Then they want to improve the Deli Splinter drop rate so that you get more simulacrums, also improve the monster spawn rate. Apparently there was a bug where sometimes monsters just did not spawn. And then in terms of Ritual, Omens, they want to make 60% more common. However, after playing multiple characters deep into the end game, I have found a grand total of 0 crafting omens, at least the useful ones. So 60% more of 0 is 0, I guess. Yeah, we'll get into crafting later, but currently it's a bit of a mess. As for Expedition, this is something they said they will work on. Currently, they feel the Expedition crafting system just sucks. So there will be more substantial changes coming to Expedition later. However, something interesting they mentioned was that they want every league mechanic to have its own special form of gear improvement or crafting. So currently, Expedition doesn't provide any kind of interesting, unique form of crafting or gear improvement. If you think about something like Delirium, it allows you to anoint your amulets. Breach, I guess, has breach rings and catalysts. So that's a way of improving your gear. Currently, Expedition doesn't really have anything special about it. So they're looking at improving something there at some stage. Currently, Expedition is just so terrible. Then, moving on to Pinnacle Bosses. Excellent change over here. Firstly, Arbiter of Ash, you will get 6 portals on Arbiter, so you won't just fail it completely and then it's done, you will get multiple attempts on the same boss. They will be doing this for other Pinnacle bosses, however, some are more complex than others. They did say that it's likely that by the time this patch comes out this week, we will get King in the Mist with 6 portals as well. However, things like Breach and logbooks, that might take a little bit longer because of potential abuse cases, and it's a little bit more complex. Then, wonderful change. Citadels are going to spawn a little closer to the starting area, and there will be these pillars of light that spike through the fog, so you'll be able to locate your citadels more easily. They said that this was actually much more impactful than expected, because now that you can actually see these pillars of light coming through the fog of war, you can actually find them so much more easily that it's really going to feel impactful. So hopefully this is a very good change. Then in terms of rebalancing bosses, they didn't really say anything about this. I wish they had asked about it. Currently, it feels like Pinnacle Bosses, it is just a glass cannon mess. So you want to just nuke that thing down as quickly as possible, because the boss itself has so many one-shot mechanics. What would be way more fun, I think everyone would agree, is have the fight extended, give the Pinnacle Bosses a lot more life, but don't make it so that they have multiple one-shot abilities. That just really sucks. If we aren't supposed to one-shot them, don't make them one-shot us. The balance on this is just really kind of lame. Maybe give them like one-shot ability that is extremely well telegraphed, but when like a lot of their different skills can just kill most characters in one hit, it's not fun, and then it leads people to do the glass cannon meta, which is just like go all in on damage. If you're going to get one-shotted, even if you spec into defenses, then why spec into defenses? Just spec fully into damage. Hopefully this is something they address. Then, item changes. Many uniques are getting buffed. They agree that uniques currently are pretty underwhelming, so big change on there. Can check out some of them on screen now, hopefully looking a little bit better. Then in terms of rare items, they're adjusting modifier weightings so that you should get fewer bad modifiers on high-end rares. So if you're finding your tier 5 rares, it's more likely they will have good modifiers rather than you finding a tier 5 rare with like a very high tier of accuracy or life on kill. Hopefully this is more impactful than it sounds on the surface. If you know what they're saying, it sounds pretty impactful, but we're gonna have to wait and see. They might also add something in-game that displays if a modifier is the highest tier. Just change it back, please. In Path of Exile 1, it made sense where tier 1 was the highest and everything else was the lowest. They're worried that that system made it so that if they add another higher tier, then it gets confusing, because now what, you have to have tier 0. This feels like a very solvable problem. Firstly, you could have tier 0 modifiers, or what you could do is just bump them down, bump the tiers down. So you have a new tier 1 and then old tier 1 becomes tier 2. It feels like a very simple problem. Currently, the highest mod tier on an item, I don't know what it is, but they might actually go back on this, they said, because even they sounded confused by it. So I don't know why they, if it's not broken, it's like, why change it? Then, in terms of bosses and monsters, there are some improvements coming to damage balance, less off-screening. Some bosses have been reworked slightly to be more balanced. Some monsters have been reworked to be slightly more balanced. For our console players, you're getting your loot filters. Praise be. You're going to get your loot filters very soon. Also, there's other improvements coming to console, so hold tight, they are coming. Then, in terms of upcoming content, we're going to be getting major updates every, let's say, 3 to 4 months. They alluded to it being similar to PoE 1, so big patches with maybe the Druid and the Huntress. Can expect that to come, let's say, every 3 to 4 months. So new leagues will come with major changes as soon as possible. These will most likely also come with economy resets. So you'll be able to play your old characters, the ones you're playing now. But if there are major changes and they're adding a whole lot of new content, then that will come with an economy reset and a league reset. In terms of Acts 4, 5, and 6, currently they are working on it, but they're confused about how to implement it because they're not sure how it would interact with Cruel. So let's say they add Act 4, then how do they have normal and Cruel? Do you go Act 1, 2, 3, 4, and then Act 1, 2, and then the end game, or Act 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 3, 4 again? So they're busy thinking about this. How are they going to do it? Are they going to just save all Acts 4, 5, and 6 for full release and release it all together, or are they going to add Acts one at a time? They're not 100% sure about this yet. I think going from Act 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2 could be okay. Anything to avoid Act 3, please. A few other changes. Smaller things, but important things. Controller and mouse and keyboard hot swapping. They are working on it. It's just not quite ready yet. In terms of clutter, another thing they are working on, just making it easier to see explosions and ground effects and things. No word of on-death effects. That really just get it out of the game. In the end game, kind of makes sense. In the campaign, the pace of combat is slow enough that you can see those things, but in the end game, it feels like, I don't know, more than half of rare monsters have on-death effects, and it's just, it sucks. I hate it. No one likes it. Take it out of the game. I don't like it. Get rid of on-death effects, please. Then, terrain collision. If you played the campaign, especially the end game, there's all these little things on the ground, like little urns or like roots that you can't walk over. They're looking at improving this, less annoying stuff on the ground that ruins and interrupts movement. And then another wonderful change, something that we've all been asking for, load times on the Atlas and World map. When you open that and you get the spinning cogs, they're looking to improve that. So hopefully when you open your overworld map, you're not sitting there for 2 minutes while it opens. Armor is getting buffed a little bit. They said about 15% more effective, which I don't know if it's good enough, but we'll see. They are looking at improving armor. There are some more complex things that need to happen for armor to start feeling good. Currently, apparently, white monsters can hit a lot harder in PoE 2, which further reduces the effectiveness of armor, but they said they need to look more into it to get a full solution to armor. In terms of charms, they're adding little things that will tell you how many triggers you have left on charms, like how many uses you have left on your charms, and when they do trigger, there'll be a more obvious effect, so you do know that they have worked. However, currently no number tweaks on charms. They feel like charms are a little bit lackluster currently and need to be revisited. They might add some charm slots to unique belts. I feel like this is a very obvious solution in terms of belts. Just add charm slots as an implicit on belts. Don't make it an explicit modifier, because I mean, I have a level 95 character, I have level 88, I played this game a bunch. I think I've seen +2 charm slots maybe 3 times. This is after they buffed it, 3 times in, I don't know, a couple hundred hours, and it was never on a good item base. It was always like +2 charm slots, all the other mods are bad, use a Chaos Orb, instantly lose the +2 charm slots. So I think it would just be so much better if this was an implicit, similar to, you know, Diablo 2, where belts had different number of potion slots. Just make it an implicit, please make it an implicit. Then, probably most frustrating part of the talk was crafting. Gazzy asked about crafting. I felt that they gave some just kind of non-answers. They said there's not a lot they can do about it right now, but it is on their top 10 list of things to look at and improve. Sounds like they do want to add different systems through different league mechanics rather than having systems like PoE 1 had. But another thing they said was it will solve itself over time. I really did not like that answer. It'll solve itself over time. I don't think so. I still think adding the crafting bench, adding meta crafting would just solve so many problems. I really hope that they're not like steadfast on the current crafting. A lot of people say if you add crafting to PoE 2, it immediately makes all ground loot just not matter at all. I could make that argument for trade. If trade is in the game, it makes ground loot matter less. So we shouldn't have crafting in PoE 2 because it makes ground loot matter less. So then why not remove trade? It doesn't make sense. Like I feel like crafting absolutely has a place in ARPGs. Perhaps it was too strong in PoE 1. Of course, you can't add all the systems we had in PoE 1 into PoE 2. The itemization and mod pool is much less complex, so that would be too strong. But I still think like crafting bench, orbs of scouring at least would be a really positive change for the game overall. But they're being very cautious about it, because if they do add that, it is a massive change. It will affect the way we interact with ground loot. So yeah, I'll be patient on that, but it's a bit disappointing hearing that they kind of don't feel like it's as bad as it is, because currently PoE 2's crafting it's non-existent. It's just like, it's absolute rubbish. Then trade auction house. Well, they said this is maybe something they're looking at, but nothing to announce right now. It might happen. It's not off the table. In terms of balance and skill balance, character balance, this is something they're not going to be addressing in this patch. When they do a big balance pass the next time, it will come with an economy reset. So no big balance changes right now. Hopefully soon, in the next month or two, there'll be a big balance pass, an economy reset. We can all start fresh with a whole lot of changes, instead of feeling like our builds are just like constantly at the mercy of random nerfs that might happen. Currently, the way they are looking at doing nerfs, firstly, if it's bricking instances, if some kind of interaction with like infinite loops or per frame triggers are happening, these things will get nerfed, because these actually affect the playability of the game for everyone. If there's some dude who's like crashing servers because their build is too broken, that's going to get nerfed, understandably. Then also bugs and things not working as intended, like Mahuzotl's shield, that increases the effect of all soul cores. I didn't realize it was affecting all soul cores, not just the ones in the shields. This is the kind of thing that they will change. But currently, they're looking at protecting instances, protecting server performance, and the whole thing of like nerfing builds that are just like really overtuned, they're currently not too worried about until there's like a big reset. Moving on into Ascendancy. Swapping Ascendancy, Mark kind of likes not being able to swap your Ascendancy, but at the same time, he said he won't die on that hill. He could change his mind if he is given a good argument against it. I kind of felt the same as him with the swapping Ascendancy. I was kind of like, I think it's kind of cool not being able to swap your Ascendancy. However, after speaking to my buddy Armour, when he like really wants to be able to swap his Ascendancy, whereas for me it was like, it doesn't really matter, but I kind of think I like it. It really feels like people who want Ascendancy swap really want it, and people who don't want Ascendancy swap are like, I don't really care, but I kind of prefer it like this. I think it would be better to add Ascendancy swapping, especially with one of the first build I played, the Witch Hunter. Witch Hunter, very underwhelming Ascendancy currently. I really would have liked to be able to swap into Gemling Legionnaire. So I'm now on the fence of, I would like Ascendancy swaps back in the game. In terms of difficulty of the Ascendancy, so trials number 3 and 4, they want these to be a big challenge and be very satisfying to overcome these challenges. So no word of reducing the difficulty. In terms of the big data breach that happened, well, it sounds like someone managed to get access to a PoE admin account. This was through some old Steam account of an admin that they'd completely forgotten about. So someone got into this admin's Steam account that was linked to their PoE admin account. From there, they got in, they were able to like change people's passwords and then like remove tickets. They will be doing a big post about the investigation into this whole data breach. However, it sounded like it was far less extensive than people made it out to be. They said currently they could only see like 66 tickets that were removed on accounts. So it may not have been as extensive, but it's not some like major data breach that happened. Then, the thing everyone is talking about, Magic Find. Is Magic Find getting changed? Is it broken? Well, no, because apparently there isn't a major problem right now. They said they will look into it to see, but I feel like this whole Magic Find debacle was just like completely blown out of proportion. There were people just sharing anecdotal information, and like when the first person who actually went out, did the work, did the research, got the data, Slippery Jim pretty much showed that everyone was panicking over nothing. So it was just like a panicked situation based on hearsay. People saying, oh, the economy is ruined because of MF, based on probably a Reddit comment that they saw. I'm not saying that Magic Find is perfect right now, but it's really not as bad as people thought. It seems to really fall off after 100%. People panicked for no reason, so they're not looking at changing Magic Find right now. In terms of Melee, they think it is bad, but they don't feel like it needs too much to get it feeling good, but they do agree that it needs a buff. In terms of minions, minion body blocking, they're looking into a solution for this. Also, in terms of when minions die due to distance being too far away from you, they should now respawn immediately instead of having to wait the 4 to 8 seconds for them to respawn. Also, they understand that control over minions needs to be improved for bosses. Convocation, they didn't say if it's coming to the game. I feel like that would just be a dead simple solution. Add Convocation, have more control over your minions, but they are not planning on adding Convocation right now. Minion movement speed matching yours. Currently, if you get affected by a slow debuff, your minions do too. They weren't aware of this, and it will be fixed. They're also going to be improving tooltips, and Spectres. Spectres are coming soon, but there's a whole lot of tweaks that need to happen to sort out problems with Spectres, so they're first doing that before they add Spectres to the game. Then, in terms of tech and optimization, all the crashes, they are trying to fix it. In terms of red-green color blindness, accessibility, they might look at sorting this out. They're not going to add like an option in-game where you just click a button and you get the red-green color blindness. They'd rather just improve the base game so that it's not an issue for people who do have that form of color blindness. Then other things, respecing the Venom quest. Mark says he would like this. And in terms of UI customization, no word on that right now. So a pretty good patch overall. We'll get the patch notes soon. This will be implemented into the game pretty soon. Some things that weren't mentioned, I really wish they'd spoken more on crafting. Boss balance, currently they didn't speak too much on. Another major thing, Energy Shield versus Life, did not speak about that at all. Currently, Energy Shield is just massively outperforming Life. And then on-death effects was another thing they did not speak about. I hope they don't dig their heels in on on-death effects. No one likes it. Get it out of my game. I don't want on-death effects in my game. Gross. A lot of cool things. So when the patch notes come out, I'll probably do a video TLDR on that. I know this was a fairly long video, but it is a fairly extensive patch. So hopefully this gave you a good breakdown of it. Don't forget to check out today's sponsor, ExitLag. Links for that will be in the description. You can follow me on Twitch. You can support me on Patreon. You can become a channel member for YouTube. I will be live. I've been doing a big project, scanning the layouts of the campaign, playing HCSSF. That's going to be it for today's video. Stay safe. I'll catch you in the next one. Have a wonderful day and stay safe. Bye-bye.